Hey everybody, this is basically part 2 of my holiday review this year. This is Quake 3 Team Arena for PC, Mac, and Linux. This is the expansion pack to Quake 3 that was released the following year, 2000. And it saw pretty heavy criticism, actually. A lot of people just felt like it was unnecessary because a lot of the stuff that it added in was pretty much just added in by mods anyway. So, when this thing came out, it got fairly mixed reviews, and as a result, it's not really something that people talk about all that much. But the real question then is, does this really make Quake 3 a more complete experience, or was it something superfluous that didn't really belong with the extremely tight deathmatch experience that was Quake 3? Now, the presentation really hasn't seen much of a change apart from them adding in some new things like new weapons, new character models, some slightly different animations. The actual quality of the work is pretty much exactly the same as Quake 3, so there's not really much to speak of. It just fits in very naturally for the most part. And the new maps are pretty much what you would expect after having played Quake 3. So they didn't really change the visuals there all that much either. They just added on to what was already an excellent experience visually as far as the graphics go. And again, it's looking fairly dated, but it still has that nice charm to the visuals that propels it forward. Then there's the sound design, which is largely unaltered. They did add in some new voice work, and it works okay. Some of it's kind of irritating, actually. The screams are really, really loud this time around. So if that gets on your nerves, then that's probably why. The actual music saw some new tracks, but other than that, it's pretty much exactly the same as it was in Quake 3. And the new music is in the same style, so it fits right in as well. And of course, the new sound effects are well on par with what was in Quake 3, so there's nothing really to speak of there either. In fact, some of them were actually reused from previous Quake games, so it's worth noting. So what it really comes down to is the gameplay, because once again the story is practically non-existent other than you're now part of a team fighting in the arena as opposed to just fighting in the arena on your own. So you pick one of 5 teams. They are the Fallen, the Pagans, the Crusaders, the Intruders, and the Strogg. And that basically changes how your character looks. You might pick, say, the Crusader skin, but at the same time you will have the same model as another character on, say, the Fallen. Something like that. So that's what the different teams do. They change the texture work on the various models. But the models remain the same, and they did add in a fair number of those. So they also added in some maps. In fact, they added 20 maps. And they added in a couple new game modes. But all of this expansion focuses on team play, as you would expect from the title Team Arena. In this particular case, you're seeing Capture the Flag, One Flag, Capture the Flag, Harvester, and Overload as the various modes available to you in the game that are based on team. And then you have the one non-team mode, which is Tournament, and that's exactly as it was in Quake 3, in that it's a 1v1. So that returns to Team Arena, but other than that, you're looking at entirely team-based modes. The new maps are all optimized for team play, and they work pretty well for the most part. There are a couple here and there that I was just kind of iffy on, but that's the case with pretty much any FPS out there, so it's not that big of a deal. There are some really good maps in there, though, and they did take a few from the base game and modify them so they're better for team play as well. What's really worth noting is the additions that they made to the game. They added in team power-ups, which are Scout, which doubles your speed, Doubler, which you do double damage, Guard, which gives you a health regen and a huge health and armor boost, and Ammo regen, which regenerates your ammo slowly. And each of these are used for various purposes. You can only have one at a time. So once you die, that actually goes back to its spawn point, and then you can pick it up again or you can pick up something else. There's also the power-up of Kamikaze, which is a gray skull that's floating around in the map somewhere. And when you pick it up, eventually, if you die, then you will actually erupt in this huge explosion, and you'll hopefully take out enemies along with you. And there's, of course, a invulnerability shield as well, so that helps. They did add in some new weapons. They added in the chain gun, the nail gun, and the proximity launcher, or the prox launcher. The prox launcher is practically useless in my experience. I've found that it's only really good for laying traps on your flag or whatever point you have for that. The nail gun is basically a non-hit scan shotgun. It's okay, but that's about it. The chain gun's fun though, because, I mean, you know, friggin' chain gun. What's not to be fun about a chain gun? At any rate, the new modes are what's interesting. One flag capture the flag is, of course, as you would expect from having seen that in other games. It's pretty fun. The normal capture the flag mode is pretty much the staple. It feels better in this expansion pack than it did in the base game, so that's worth noting. But that's probably because they put more effort into the map design and things like that. Then there's Overload, where you have to go over to the enemy's base and basically just take out this thing they've got set up. It's an obelisk. And once you take that out, you score for your team. Then there's Harvester, which is kind of cool. It's a combination of team deathmatch and a sort of capture the flag mode. But whenever you kill an enemy, it spawns a skull in the middle of the map somewhere. And you need to pick that skull up and bring it to the enemy's spawn point, where they would normally have their flag in a capture the flag match, and you had to drop those off there, and that's how you score. It's actually a really interesting mode, and it's really the mode that I have the most fun playing, although it's also kind of the most frustrating at the same time. Because if you've built up a good number of skulls and you're trying to bring them to the enemy base and you get taken out, well, those skulls are lost, and it's just irritating when that happens. But when it works, it's a lot of fun. But here's the problem with Quake 3 Team Arena. Pretty much everything it does was already added into Quake 3 Arena as mods, even when the expansion actually came out. And so there wasn't really a huge reason to own Team Arena, except for the fact that it was very well polished and it added in all of this stuff to the base game and made the base game better, basically. And really the only way you would probably get it is if you bought Quake 3 Gold, or if you were just a diehard Quake fan and you ended up buying it anyway. Quake 3 Gold included it, so that's where you would get Team Arena, most likely. If not, then you're just a diehard Quake fan, and you would find it somewhat of a disappointing expansion. It does make Quake 3 more rounded, but you don't really need it. You see, Quake 3 really thrives in the free-for-all environment, or in the team deathmatch environment, which is why Harvester is a fun mode. But at the same time, putting more emphasis on team play doesn't really help out a game as deathmatch-centric as Quake 3. It's worth having if you like the team-based play, and if you're going to pick up Quake 3, you might as well pick up Team Arena as well. But it's not something that I find an essential add-on to Quake 3. It's fun, it has its moments, and the new maps are well appreciated, the updates to old maps are well appreciated, things like that. But, again, it's not really an essential thing. And when you do try to run Team Arena, it doesn't actually let you play any of the modes or anything from the base game either. So that doesn't really help. But if you're looking for a decent team-based expansion to Quake 3, well, it's decent enough. It's just not essential. Thanks for watching.